We are living in a volatile political environment. You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorable.
Come on, man.
If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Come on, man. And if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It was a debate.
And we are live. So before we start the show, I find it odd that hypocrisy is now the new norm. From our politicians to Hollywood's elite, they like to grandstand for a cause, then following that performance do the exact same thing they condemned. Whether it's condemning fossil fuels while flying across the country in a private jet, or supporting the right to choose while also advocating for vax mandates. But as innocent as those are, Justin Bieber is outperforming everyone. So during his world tour, Justin Bieber made headlines by saying this in Norway.
What's going on, everybody? So, when we created the Justice album, we wanted to make an intentional moment, a moment of unity, a moment of acceptance, a moment of belonging. In this world, there's a lot of division, and what justice is for us to all come together. We know that racism is evil, it's wrong. But you and I, we get to be the difference makers. We get to be the ones to stand with our brothers and sisters and make a change. So I'm so...
Make a change, huh? So after saying that, the next day in his concert in Finland, he does this. What is he doing? What is he doing? What is that? You know, that kind of looks like, to me, he's out there goose stepping while throwing out a cigar. What is going on there? What is going on there? What was that? Was he really goose stepping and doing a cigar? That's what it looked like to me. And, you know, that part of the area that he's at, you know, is known for their neo-Nazism. So it wouldn't be surprising if that's what he was doing. All I got to say is Walt Disney would be proud. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Deplorable Talk Show. You are here with Mr. Deplorable himself, Israel Perez. Now, you might be wondering, what is this disastrous thing I stumbled upon on Rumble or YouTube? You've stumbled upon a show where I give my unfiltered opinion on politics and culture. This is not a show for kids, nor is it a show for the intellectually minded. I know nothing about the things I choose to talk about, but this is America, where opinions are just like assholes. Everyone has one. I just choose to record mine and spread it on the internet. So, strap in, people. This is going to be one hell of a show. A lot happened this week, and I have a lot to talk about. So, we will start off today's show talking about the infighting of leftists that took place on Twitter between Jimmy Dore and Nina Turner, which left a bad taste in the mouths of Nina's supporters and possibly ended her career as a progressive candidate. And that will be in the segment called Trending. We will then jump into today's big lead, which will be about racist teachers' unions and how to possibly fix our education crisis. And yes, teachers' unions are part of the problem. And we will close the show out with our last segment of the day called Existential Endorsement Tracker, where we will talk about the epic win for the GOP in Wyoming. So let's get into our first segment called Trending. Trump was too liberal. Tweet. So this is a segment where we will be looking at what was trending on Twitter And last week, Twitter was ablaze with trends ranging from hashtag Trump's going to jail in response to Mar-A-Lago raid to the term MAP trending in response to people attempting to bring attention to the efforts to normalize pedophilia within the LGBTQ community. Now, and for those who don't know, MAP stands for minor attracted person. But through the fifth generational battlefield that is Twitter, the most interesting trend was the infighting of the leftists. Nina Turner, a progressive candidate, was attempting to discredit Jimmy Dore's name by calling him anti-black racist after Jimmy called her out about a remark she made about the FBI in a tweet. So let's take a look at that tweet. Nina said, "My predictions of the fallout of the FBI raiding Mar-A-Lago is that we're probably going to see a bunch of MAGA Republicans call out to abolish the FBI." Jimmy Dore then said, "When leftists cheer on the FBI, you know they're serious about being Democrats." All right. So instead of tweeting, she's simply making a prediction and then stating the long-held leftist position of calling for the abolition of the FBI. She instead tweets this statement in response. "When Jimmy Dore knocks a black progressive woman for pointing out conservatives' hypocrisy when it comes to the FBI, you know he's serious about being anti-black and protecting conservatives." Jesus! What a statement, huh? Straight for the race card. That's a bold move, especially when playing identity politics like that against a well-renowned person like Jimmy Dore. You know, he is a very well-liked person within the community of the left. You know, I like him. I don't agree with him, but I enjoy his show and I like to watch it. So in the same thread, she continues to justify her accusations by tweeting this. "Conservatives were okay with the FBI when it comes to the Panthers, MLK, and Malcolm X. Now they have a problem with it. If you have a problem with me pointing that out, you're doing the bidding of these conservatives, which Jimmy is. And yes, doing the bidding of those conservatives by using black women's words is in fact anti-black." And then Jimmy responded with this trump card of a tweet. "I've admired Jimmy from afar. He's saying things I can't say," at Nina Turner, and that's a quote from her because she did say that. "I called her out for cheering on the FBI. She uses the cheapest, ugliest form of identity politics and as a shield. Truly repulsive. FYI, she's against defunding FBI, and she sits on Cleveland Police Foundation board. When people come around to your point of view, like in the case that the FBI is a corrupt, evil organization, then you should welcome them, not continue to insult them and flip them off. You call out their hypocrisy when they're in the wrong, not when they change and are correct." Not wrong. Not wrong. So you would think after reading that, the conversation ends there. No. Nina doubles down and says this. "Let me be clear. Jimmy Dore repackaging anti-blackness and right-wing talking points and sells it in a way that some leftists are willing to buy. He has used right-wing talking points against me multiple times and even defended Rittenhouse. He makes millions doing it." So many people were not happy with that tweet. You had thousands of people replying with criticism to Nina for stooping so low as to call Jimmy a racist. Garland Nixon said, "So let me understand this. Jimmy Dore is a racist, and you advise us to support Joe Biden." Living in environmental U.S. imperialist end times said, "You've completely surrendered to the dark side, and they don't even want you. So sad." And for those who don't understand that, the side she's supporting has thrown her under the bus many times. "I belong to a baby booper," said, "You've sunken into a place where you will never climb out of. Shame on you for using identity politics and trying to smear him as a racist." And then In my opinion, Salvia's response said it all. But Nina, the whole point is that you have taken the right-wing position on the FBI, and Jimmy Dore called you out for it. And your response is to double down and come out as a shameless Clintonite fascist? All Jimmy did was be a principled leftist. So, once again, you think Nina would call it a day and reflect on the backlash from her followers. Maybe tweet an apology to Jimmy for her accusations, but stick to her original statement. No! Nina responds to the backlash from her followers with an ad hominem approach by labeling them as conservatives for disagreeing with her. If you take right-wing money while running against progressives, you're a conservative. If you use right-wing talking points against progressives, you're a conservative. She's behaving like a fucking kid. No, she's losing the argument and then says, "You're stupid, so I don't care what you have to say." Oh, no. Now, as the good book says, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Which means a person who is excessively proud will often suffer a setback or failure. And that's exactly what happened. The responses to that were not good. So let's look at some of these. I think it's Agathon the Ultra said, "The lines are now blurred between what can be considered a right-wing talking point because Democrats and their supporters have done nothing but support more war, apartheid, the funding of Ukraine, Nazis, cops, etc. No different than the conservatives they claim to oppose." Black in the Empire said, "OMG, you've become one of them, even after what they did to you." And then Blacker Than Black said, "Aren't you part of the TYT network, the same network that took money from conservative Democrats and Republicans?" The Young Turks is what he's talking about. And then Liz Cheney fan, which changed their name, they made me laugh. So, if you take left-wing donor money and give it to centrist Democrats like Connor Lamb, you are AOC. So, jokes aside here, the series of tweets attacking Jimmy Dore have demonstrated to progressive left, which had held Nina up as a beacon of hope, has realized she has sold out to the neocons like Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the rest of the squad. Sabrina Salvati, also known as Sabby Sabs, gave a powerful statement that sums up how hurt the progressive left is with Nina Turner's actions on Twitter. Now, she does a 25-minute breakdown tweet by tweet, but it's just a build up to the last 5 minutes, which I gotta say was pretty damn powerful. I love her passion, and she makes some good points. So let's give a watch.
If somebody tells me they're against the FBI, if they tell me, you know what, we need to get rid of this whole system, I don't really care if they're on the left or the right. If they're down with it and I'm down with it, then let's get the shit done. This is the problem. This is why I hate this two-party system. I hate it. I absolutely despise it. Everything is about left versus right. People are so blinded, they can't even look at just particular issues anymore. Now it goes on from here. She goes on to say, if you take right-wing money while running against progressives, you're a conservative. If you use right-wing talking points against progressives, you're a conservative. When did Jimmy Dore run against a progressive? I'm confused. When did Jimmy Dore run against a progressive?
Yeah, he's never ran for office either. So that doesn't make any sense.
If you use right-wing talking points against progressives, you're a conservative. What are the right-wing talking points? See, this is the thing. Like, this is vague. Give me some examples. You got to give me more than this. What are the right-wing talking points that you're referring to? I didn't see any examples mentioned. He goes on. If someone on the left is telling you that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert are potential allies to the left, you're witnessing a grifter that is doing nothing but putting marginalized communities in danger. We don't build coalitions with right-wing authoritarians. Okay, well, to that, I ask, what about Black people that are conservatives?
Yeah.
What about Black people on the right? This is the problem with the left-right divide, putting marginalized communities in danger. What about the marginalized communities that are on the right? This is making the assumption that everybody that's Black is on the left. They're not. And Black people are leaving the Democratic Party, not joining it. I can't with this. So it makes me really sad. It makes me really sad because at the end of the day, all this back and forth, and we haven't accomplished anything. Not one damn thing. This is going back to 2016 when Bernie first ran. What have we accomplished? What have we won? What have we done on the left besides a couple of progressives winning their races and going into DC and siding with corporate Democrats when it comes to legislation? What have we accomplished on the left? It's been what, 6 years? Nothing is getting done. Nothing. I'm so pissed. I'm livid. I was just at a housing project here in Boston. People are having their freaking ceiling separating from the damn wall. More people are still being evicted. Tent communities are growing. People still don't have health insurance. People still don't have dental insurance. But what we got right now, what we got here, we got someone who sat up there and ran twice in a row, and the Democratic Party screwed her twice in a fucking row. And here she is, sitting up here, still pointing fingers at the right instead of pointing fingers at your own damn party that has continued to screw you over multiple times. We've won nothing. Nothing. I'm embarrassed. It's embarrassing. I gotta be honest here. It pisses me off. I get so tired. Sometimes I get tired of this. Constantly telling people we need to support these policies. Constantly telling people you need to come on over to the left because we really agree on the issues. And I'm telling people that, and then they don't want to even be involved. You know why? Because they see shit like that. Because they said the left is too divided. Because they said you got people like Nina Turner and Jimmy Dore yelling at each other back and forth on Twitter. They want no part of it. They said that the left are too pure. There's too much of these purists. And they feel like they don't have a home here. Everybody needs to hear this. Who's on the left? You need to hear this. Sometimes on this side, we can come across really kind of condescending to people who are not there yet, people who are not on the left. And I got to tell you, I've talked to a lot of people, and you know what? It is a fucking turnoff. It is a turnoff to a lot of people to see someone like Nina Turner, who was a progressive candidate, and someone like Jimmy Dore, who had a lot of these progressive candidates come onto his show. Sometimes it was the first platform. To see that we're not even in community together. We went from being together on the issues to being divided over personalities. And I'm so sick of it. I'm tired. And I know a lot of us, we've all bought into it. I've been guilty of it before too. But this is fucking embarrassing. You don't see this on the right. Do you see Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro going at each other like this? Fuck no. And at the same time, we've accomplished nothing.
Yep. Pretty powerful. I like it. I like the passion, man. You know, I don't agree with the Progressive Party or anything they have to offer. But I do like passionate people, and that she is. She is. She believes in something, and that's what matters. She wants to do good. And the infighting that's happening amongst the Progressive Party isn't helping any kind of movement that they're trying to make happen. But anyways, that ends the segment trending. Trump was too liberal. Tweet. All right, so before we get into the big lead for today, guys, we have to run through a real quick update. So as everyone should know, the Mar-A-Lago, the raid on I saw something over here. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was like, what happened to my computer screen? But as everyone should know, Mar-A-Lago was raided by the FBI. And the MSM has been all over the place reporting on this. So if you are confused about what is true and not true, I understand. And hopefully this update answers some questions. So Newsweek on August 10th reported that Merrick Garland didn't know about the FBI's raid of Mar-A-Lago. According to sources of Newsweek, that said Garland was regularly briefed on the Records Act investigation and that he knew about the grand jury and what material federal prosecutors were seeking, and that it was the FBI director that ultimately gave the go-ahead to conduct the raid. But the next day, Merrick Garland gave a press conference saying, "I personally approve the decision to seek a search warrant on this matter," and as seen in this clip.
There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly. Where possible, it is standard practice to seek less intrusive means as an alternative to a search and to narrowly scope any search that is undertaken. There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly. Where possible, it is standard practice to seek less intrusive means as an alternative to a search and to narrowly scope any search that is undertaken. There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approve.
Nope. There we go. I didn't notice that it restarted. Sorry, guys. My fuck up. I'm over here still kind of concentrating on what the fuck was going on with my screen over here, making sure everything's still working properly. So, was the source of Newsweek lying? Or was this an attempt to get ahead of a political disaster that was the raid on Mar-A-Lago? Who knows? So another thing the media had inflated and the left jumped on in hopes of an indictment was that Trump had top secret nuclear documents, as reported by the WAPO on August 12th. FBI searched Trump's home to look for nuclear documents and other items, sources say. Classified documents relating to nuclear weapons were among the items FBI agents sought in search of former President Donald Trump's Florida residence on Monday, according to people familiar with the investigation. Experts in classified information said the unusual search underscores deep concern among government officials about the types of information they thought could be located at Trump's Mar-A-Lago club and potential in danger of falling into the wrong hands. So, I'll say this. Just because they have a source does not mean the source is telling the truth. As we can see from the Newsweek source, they got that wrong. So after this article, Trump sent out a truth saying, nuclear weapons is a hoax, just like Russia was a hoax. 2 impeachments were a hoax. The Mueller investigation was a hoax, and much more. Same sleazy people involved. Why wouldn't the FBI allow the inspection of areas at Mar-A-Lago with our lawyers or others present? Made them wait outside in the heat. Wouldn't let them get even close. Said absolutely not. Planting information, anyone? Reminds me of a Christopher Steele dossier. So this truth riled up everyone on the left who claimed that it proves he's guilty of having nuclear documents because he's preparing a defense. Now, even Crystal Ball was saying this on Breaking Points and forgetting to add that this was a reaction to the claims from the unnamed source by the WAPO. And Crystal Ball irritates me sometimes, especially when it comes to Trump and the possibility of him being indicted for something. She is so desperate for an indictment that her bias peeks out a little bit. And yes, I have a bias when talking about Trump, but my show's not about reporting the news without a bias. That's her platform. So the FBI has neither confirmed nor denied this allegation by the WAPO, but in my opinion, if it's in fact true that Trump had nuclear documents, do you think they would be waiting this long to indict him? I don't know. They wouldn't. They would be all over it right now. I can see the headlines already. Donald Trump indicted. They finally got him. Another issue that was being discussed by various commentators was Trump's truth about his passport. So here's his truth. Wow. In the raid by the FBI of Mar-A-Lago, they stole my 3 passports, 1 expired, along with everything else. This is an assault on a political opponent at a level never seen before in our country. Third world. Jesus, I miss the man, dude. So many YouTube commentators speculated that the FBI was investigating Trump for possible criminal charges. For what other reason would they have taken his passports? And not to pick on Crystal, but she was pretty giddy when talking about this, even saying that they must have something on him. They think he's a flight risk. Why else would they have taken his passports? That's not verbatim, but it's pretty damn close. So the DOJ, on the other hand, was taking this allegation by Trump differently. Daily Mail writes, DOJ slaps down Trump's claims that feds stole 3 of his passports during a Mar-A-Lago raid. The Justice Department has hit back at Donald Trump's claim the FBI stole his passports during the raid on his Mar-a-Lago mansion. So, the DOJ is saying Trump is making wild allegations, and the commentators think Trump might be criminally charged. Well, the commentators are wrong, and the DOJ lied. NBC writes, Trump's passports returned to him after Mar-a-Lago search, DOJ official says. Passports belonging to Donald Trump have been returned to the former president after last week's FBI search of his Mar-a-Lago home, a Justice Department official told NBC News on Monday. The FBI acknowledged it had the passports the same day Trump said on his social media platform the FBI agents who conducted the search on August 8th took them. What a bunch of fucking clowns, dude. Oh, no. Jesus. So this last piece of information should come as no surprise, given what we have heard so far in this update segment. Merrick Garland, in an attempt to strike fear in Trump and get ahead of the situation, announced that he was going to unseal the search warrant. Trump fired back and called his bluff in a truth. Not only will I not oppose the release of documents related to the un-American, unwarranted and unnecessary raid and break-in of my home in Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago. I'm going a step further by encouraging the immediate release of those documents, even though they have been drawn up by radical left Democrats and possible future political opponents who have a strong, powerful, vested interest in attacking me, much as they have done for the last 6 years. Trump, after that, put out another truth, doubling down on Merrick Garland, saying, there is no way to justify the unannounced raid of Mar-a-Lago, the home of the 45th president of the United States, who got more votes by far than any sitting president in the history of this country. By a very large number of gun-toting FBI agents and the Department of Justice, but in the interest of transparency, I call for the immediate release of the complete unredacted affidavit pertaining to this horrible and shocking break-in. Also, the judge on this case should be recused. I fucking love it, man. So, Trump is calling for more transparency. So, what does the DOJ do in response? NBC writes, DOJ urges judge to keep Trump's search warrant affidavit sealed to protect national security investigation. All right. What happened to transparency, huh? So, as of August 18th, a federal judge on Thursday ordered the government to redact and ultimately release a version of a highly sensitive warrant affidavit that was used to justify a search by the FBI last week. We will see what comes of that. But let's get into the big lead for today. So, I find it funny how the progressive left, the leaders of civil rights, the arbiters of anti-racism, are becoming what they swore to fight. They are bringing truth to the phrase, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So many higher educational institutes around the United States are participating in segregation, the Daily Signal writes. Segregation is back, and it's coming from the left. Integration used to be a major goal of the civil rights movement, but today in many places, resegregation is a growing trend, particularly on college campuses. A new National Association of Scholars report finds that 7 out of 10 colleges surveyed are having separate graduations for those of certain racial or ethnic backgrounds. So this is Daily Signal's interview with Don Perrier from the National Association of Scholars, who kind of gave some remarks on what was going on in these colleges. And here's a quote from him from the interview. At the National Associates of Scholars, we surveyed 173 colleges and universities across the country and found that 71%, 125 of them, have some version of ethnical separate graduation. In fact, Harvard has also has a separate Latinx graduation. Brown has a Black Literate. Columbia has both Black graduation and Raza graduations. These ceremonies are held in addition to the mainstream campus-wide consummates, and attendance is voluntary, but they're so popular nowadays, most students take them for granted. So, the problem with this is everything starts on a college campus before it makes its way out to our public institutions. Many generations are indoctrinated with these ideologies and practices, which are then gradually introduced into the public institution through education, political positions, and nonprofit foundations for activist movements. What is happening in Minneapolis is also a result of ideas taught in higher education systems that the only way to correct past civil rights violations is to inflict civil rights violations. So the Daily Mail writes, Fury, as Minneapolis Teachers Union negotiates clause requiring white educators to be laid off first, regardless of seniority, to make up for past discriminations. Rule is part of a contract that ended 2-week strike this past March. Scroll down here a little bit, huh? A new contract between Minneapolis public schools and teachers' unions has caused outrage as it could see senior white teachers intentionally laid off before teachers of color. The contract says instead of teacher layoffs or relocations being decided based on seniority as typical, schools can ignore that protocol and dismiss senior staff members if otherwise a teacher of color would be laid off. The agreement was reached in spring of 2002 after a 2-week teacher strike and what was spearheaded by Minneapolis Federation of Teachers President Greta Callen, not to be confused with Greta Thunberg. Many have called the deal unconstitutional and accused it of addressing past racism with more racism. It reads, if accessing a teacher who is a member of a population unrepresented among licensed teachers in the state, the district shall access the next least senior teacher who is not a member of the unrepresented population. The prioritizing of teachers of color over senior educators may also apply to rehiring after layoff. Jesus. So, I don't know about you. That sounds a little racist to me, but it makes sense because everything in this teacher strike was rooted in woke ideology. Greta Callen, who is the president of the teachers union, and Sean Langdon, who was the previous president and now the co-leader, said in an interview with the Jacobian, and this is Sean Langdon, one thing that we've really tried to raise up in this campaign is that our hourly school workers, from food service workers to education support professionals who are majority folks of color, are also the lowest paid and have the least amount of say in our work and our district. If we're going to talk about equity, if we're going to talk about racial justice, we have to talk about how to treat everybody in our system. And the district doesn't treat our members of color and our hourly workers with the dignity and respect they deserve. We're saying that something can be done to materially improve the lives of people, particularly groups of workers who are majority folks of color. Then Greta Callen goes on to say, this is the same fight. The fights are not separate. The majority of our students are students of color. Everything we have put on the table is a fight for Black lives, including all things Sean mentioned. Those at the top, those running our schools according to the corporate model, are really picking and choosing when they want to say they're supporting our students or educators of color. We're trying to create some systematic change right now. Our public schools have to be strong if we want to build the world that we need to see. We're all in, and we're going to do whatever it's going to take to make that change. So, Jesus. I find it funny that the white suburban mom, and someone who looks like the white suburban dad are the voices and fighters of the colored communities. Now, it's never that a person from that affected community out there speaking about the troubles that their community is facing. It's someone who has no idea about that community telling people of that community that they are victims. Odd. And here's another thing I find odd, is their strike demands. Small class sizes, better benefits, more mental health resources for students, increased workforce diversity, and higher wages. What does any of that have to do with equity and racial justice? Now, it kind of makes me feel like Sean and Greta used this strike to push woke ideology and push through a stipulation that is a clear violation of civil rights. What this also tells me is that teachers' unions are way too powerful, and we need to find a way to take back some of that power teachers' unions have. Otherwise, they will use tactics of strike to get what they want because they know if they strike long enough, the community will push back on the state to meet their demands because their kids need to go back to school. So the question is here, how do we gain power back from the teachers' unions? Now, there is a way, and it's called school choice. So the idea of school choice varies from state to state. there are 21 states that offer school choice, but it doesn't work the way it should. It should work the way it sounds, which is school choice. Parents should have a choice to send their kid to whatever school they want. The way it should work is that the state does not fund schools. They take all the funding they would give to a public school and give it to the individual child. Every year, that child has a voucher attached to their name, and the parent of that child can then use the voucher to send their kid to a school of their choice, whether it be a private school, charter, or a better public school on the other side of the county. The voucher pays the child's school expenses for the year. This then forces schools to get competitive if they want to still exist. This will raise up demand and wages for good teachers. This will make schools demand that teachers perform at a higher level, which means a better education for the kid. This means a school with good teachers and high demand can expand, creating small class sizes because they are getting the money directly and can use the money as they see fit. Their budget for the year will rely on how well their teachers perform and the education value they can offer your kid. A school's budget will no longer rely on how well a student performs on a test. Now, Minnesota, does have school choice technically, but it needs to be revamped. Let me bring this up here. So it's there to benefit the school, not the child. Currently, Minnesota offers a tax credit of $1,000 to taxpayers who make under $33,500. It can only be used to cover books, tutors, academic after-school programs, and other non-tuition education expenses. And if the household makes over $41,500, you can't claim that credit, which makes no sense. So, what Minnesota and other states need to do is adopt what Arizona just passed. So, let's bring this up here. In a major victory for families wary of one-size-fits-all approach to education, the Arizona legislature today passed a groundbreaking bill which ensures all Arizonan families can access school choice. Sponsored by Rep. Ben Toma, expands eligibility for Arizona's Empowerment Scholarship Account program to every family in the state. ESAs, which Goldwater pioneered in Arizona more than a decade ago, put money that would otherwise go towards a given child's public education into an account that parents can use to customize their child's education experience to best meet their unique needs. The ESA program has gone from serving 100 students in 2011 to more than 10,000 today. And if Governor Doug Ducey signs HB 2853 into law, more than 1 million students will be eligible for the program. So, what does the bill do? It expands eligibility for the Empowerment Scholarship Account program to every family in Arizona. Families would receive over $6,500 per year per child for private school, homeschooling, learning pods, tutoring, or any other kinds of educational services that would best fit their students' needs. Any child who wishes to opt out of their local public school or who already has would be allowed to join the ESA program under the bill. Many families currently make financial sacrifices and shoulder the expense of private school tuitions or paying for homeschooling supplies. These families are all currently entitled to send their child to a public school at a cost of over $10,000 per year to taxpayers, regardless of their income. The bill would ensure that all families have the freedom to choose whatever form of education best fits their child. Not bad, man. I like that. Now, if you were saying, what about public schools? This would drain funds away from them. They say no. Does this drain our public schools of funding? No. No, the ESA program simply ensures that teacher-student funds follows the student, just like it already does each time a student leaves a public school for a different public school, using the state's open enrollment options. Unless you believe the student should be required to attend a particular school district, no matter how poorly it would serve the child, simply because the zip code the child's family lives in, then you already support the idea that funds should follow a student. There we go, huh? I think that fixes the problem with the teachers' unions. This takes away the power of education from the teachers and puts it in the parents' hands. If a school is pushing woke ideology onto students and the parents don't like it, they can simply take their kids out of that school and the money comes with them to another school. If the teachers' unions want to strike for whatever reason, which is now burdening you and your child, cool, let them. But now you can say, my kid will no longer be attending this school. I have enrolled him into a private school and the money comes with them to that private school. Now, if you're saying this will take away good teachers from our public schools, there is already a teacher shortage as it is. Yeah, probably, but no, Florida is trying to fix that problem. DeSantis announces 3 proposed initiatives aimed at Florida's teachers' recruitment retention. Governor Ron DeSantis announced 3 initiatives aimed at recruiting and retaining teachers in Florida, which will be proposed during the next legislative session. DeSantis said that initiatives include governor's recruitment program, which will focus on veterans and first responders with bachelor's degrees. It'll waive the fees. Those who take part will be eligible for a $4,000 bonus and another $1,000 depending on the subject they teach. Teacher apprenticeship programs allow Floridians with an associate's degree to get experience in the classroom under another teacher for 2 years, then go on to get their bachelor's degree. Mentors get $4,000 for every apprentice. That's actually pretty cool. New scholarship programs to help current high school teachers to earn master's degree to teach dual enrollment classes at their current schools. All right. That's not bad. It's good incentives, right? So DeSantis also approved an $800 million bill to increase teacher pay. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis approves $800 million to increase teacher pay. Minimum teacher salary in Florida will now be $47,500. So just underneath $50,000 for an entry-level job. Not bad. Not bad at all, dude. So let's end this segment out, huh? Arizona and Florida have offered solutions to the educational problem in the United States, or at least are trying to fix it, right? And if you are like me, you're probably wondering why none of this has been tried yet. People have been talking about this for years, but the Democrats have been against it because they say school choice is racist, and only professionals who went to our institutions should be able to teach. Forbes writes, the racist history of school choice. It would be unrealistic not to acknowledge that far too many of our public schools are troubled with low performance due to a variety of factors. That understandably prompts many parents and guardians to seek alternatives. But if we truly want to ensure equitable education, those schools should be targeted for true reform, meaning investments in faculty development, leadership development, social and emotional learning, wraparound services, and other supports that would strengthen those schools and make them safe. Welcoming high-quality learning environments. What we should not do is take money from those troubled schools and put it into private schools, a too frequent practice often referred to as school choice that has historical racist foundations. We are less than 6 months into 2001, and to date, school choice legislation has been introduced into at least 20 states, half of which are in the South. Okay. Most of these bills prompt tax credits, school vouchers, or education saving accounts. All of them drain money from underfunded, under-resourced public schools into private schools. And while some proponents of these bills say they will improve education opportunities for Black and brown students, and students from low-income families, the truth is that they do not. Moreover, these kinds of laws have their roots in history of racism and school segregation. So I don't understand the logic there. Black and brown students will be able to attend any school that white students go to. If anything, this helps end segregation. Or at least the form that they're saying is taking place. So, MSNBC writes, why Florida's plan to recruit veterans as teachers is troubling. Fuck, dude. Florida is struggling to hire teachers, and Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' regressive influence on the state's education system, affecting signage on the wall to class curriculums, is arguably a prime factor. But the DeSantis administration declines to look inward to assess why so many teachers have left their jobs. Instead of pushing a dubious quick fix, hiring military veterans without degrees to teach, Florida's education department announced last week that it will give veterans 5-year temporary certificates while they finish their bachelor's degree. Vets must pass subject tests and have complete 60 college credits, around 2 years or 4 years degree program, to obtain the certificate. Teachers' unions across Florida have come out against that policy, saying hiring unqualified teachers would be harmful to students and their rights. Okay. This is a bad, potential, sinister idea that deserves intense scrutiny. So let's start off with the fundamental truth. On its face, a teacher's having served in the military isn't necessarily a bad thing. But what makes the plan especially grim is DeSantis likely sees the policy as part of his efforts to inject nationalistic propaganda into Florida's schools. And they're just so afraid of him, man. I don't understand it. So, why is there so much pushback from the left on this, huh? The solution will help so many kids, especially underprivileged kids. And I will kind of give you my opinion on why they're possibly pushing back on this. They label school choice as racist and Florida's approach as harmful because they require control of your children. If you have a say in where your child attends school, they no longer have control over you. If you don't like what they teach your child, you can threaten to remove your child from their school system, which means that teachers who groom children no longer have that option because you can get the school to intervene and either stop the teacher's behavior or remove the teacher entirely. If enough parents band together, they can control the curriculum, which means that banned books like Tom Sawyer and To Kill a Mockingbird are no longer banned. CRT is no longer promoted, and young minds are no longer indoctrinated into socialism. Higher pay for teachers will attract more people to the job, but incentives such as those for veterans and first responders, scholarship programs, performance bonuses, and mentor pay will attract people other than failed college kids who majored in psychology and minored in basket weaving and now believes the government should pay off their student loans because they're $100,000 in debt and believe the government should take care of them. This will keep those types of teachers out of schools, which is something they cannot have. They require your children. That is their future voting base. Indoctrinate them when they are young so that when they are 18, they will vote progressive. They will vote for progressive candidates. Because they have grown up learning that the only way America will improve is if the government has more power. But hey, what do I know? I'm just rambling here, right? And that ends the big lead for today. So let's get into our last segment.
Liz, you're fired. Bye-bye. Okay?
If you couldn't tell by the stinger, yes, it happened. Harriet Hagman, a Trump-backed candidate, defeated Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney has brought an end to 75 years of a political dynasty. And now we can finally say that a Cheney has become a victim of a regime change. But what was surprising about this race was how fast it ended. I thought for sure it would be a neck-to-neck race. Americans would go to sleep not knowing who the winner was and seeing the outcome of the race by noon the next day. I thought I would be checking my phone every few hours and seeing lead swaps happen. But that was not the case. At 7 p.m. Pacific, I sent this tweet out. Over 10% of the vote have been counted, and Harriet Hagman is in the lead. I saw an article from the PM saying Hagman won, but the AP has not yet announced it. And as you can see, With 10% of the vote counted, Harriet Hagman had a 30-point lead. She was blowing her the fuck out, man. Now, and as soon as I send out that tweet, of course, this pops into my feed. Breaking. Rep. Liz Cheney loses the Republican primary in Wyoming to Trump-backed challenger Harriet Hagman. NBC News projects. No, and what was happening on Twitter could have made a, basically I could have made a segment out of it. Well, which I kind of am, but I'm talking about my trending segment. So Twitter was blowing up. Liz Cheney and Wyoming were on the top trend list for 2 days. Liz Cheney at number 1 and Wyoming at number 2, which is fucking insane. For two related topics to be trending next to each other for 2 days at number 1 and 2 is pretty amazing. So let's take a look at this, huh? So August 16th, 2022, Liz Cheney, number 1, Wyoming, number 2. And then if we go over here to the next day, August 17th, 2022, Liz Cheney, number 1, Wyoming, number 2. Both are beating Black Cat Appreciation Day. That's pretty insane, dude. People love their cats. So the final results of the race between Cheney and Hagman had Hagman beating Cheney by 38 points. And look at this real quick. And let's pull that all the way out. If you were to add up the total points of all the candidates running into Cheney, Hagman still beats Cheney by 55,641 votes. Jesus, that's a landslide of a victory. No, Cheney never stood a chance. And I will give Liz Cheney this. She read the writing on the wall. She conceded at 7:21 p.m. Pacific and made this speech.
Over a year ago, I received a note from a Gold Star father. He said to me, standing up for truth honors all who gave all. And I have thought of his words every single day since then.
Oh, yeah?
I've thought of them because they are a reminder of how we must all conduct ourselves. We must conduct ourselves in a way that is worthy of the men and women who wear the uniform of this nation.
I don't know why the captions are in Spanish.
And in particular, of those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. This is not a game. Every one of us must be committed to the eternal defense of this miraculous experiment called America. And at the heart of our democratic process are elections. They are the foundational principle of our Constitution. 2 years ago, I won this primary with 73% of the vote. I could easily have done the same again. The path was clear. But it would have required that I go along with President Trump's lie about the 2020 election. It would have required that I enable his ongoing efforts to unravel our democratic system and attack the foundations of our republic. That was a path I could not and would not take.
Jesus.
No House seat, no office in this land is more important than the principles that we are all sworn to protect. And I well understood the potential political consequences of abiding by my duty. Our republic relies upon the goodwill of all candidates for office to accept honorably the outcome of elections. And tonight, Harriet Hagman has received the most votes in this primary. She won. I called her to concede the race. This primary election is over, but now the real work begins.
Oh, yeah? What's the real work? What's the real work, Cheney? What's the real work?
The great and original champion of our party, Abraham Lincoln, was defeated in elections for the Senate and the House before he won the most important election of all. Lincoln ultimately prevailed, he saved our union, and he defined our obligation as Americans for all of history. Speaking at Gettysburg of the great
I believe you compared yourself to
remaining
fucking
before
Abraham
us,
Lincoln.
Lincoln said,
You can go fuck yourself.
that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. As we meet here tonight, that remains our greatest and most important task. Most of world history is a story of violent conflict, of servitude and suffering. Most people in most places have not lived in freedom. Our American freedom is a providential departure from history. We are the exception. We have been given the gift of freedom by God and our founding fathers. It has been said that the long arc of history bends toward justice and freedom. That's true, but only if we make it bend.
Okay, whatever. I'm done with you. I'm done hearing your fucking speech, comparing yourself to Abraham Lincoln. Go fuck yourself. All I heard was I made the wrong bet. That's all I heard. And of course you made the laws about the January 6th committee. You bet wrong. The Americans of Wyoming said, fuck you. Oh. Of course, Trump, never missing a beat, sent out the truth in Trumpian fashion. Congratulations to Harriet Hagman on her great and very decisive win in Wyoming. This is a wonderful result for America and a complete rebuke of the unselect committee of political hacks and thugs. Liz Cheney should be ashamed of herself. The way she acted and her spiteful, sanctimonious words and actions towards others. Now she can finally disappear into the depths of the political oblivion where I am sure she will be much happier than she is right now. Thank you, Wyoming. Trump is a dynasty killer. You know, and I'm very comfortable saying that. You know, Trump took out the Bushes, took out the Clintons, took out the McCains, and now the Cheneys, and this meme says it all. And for the audio listeners, you have Trump as death, and there's doors that have opened. He's knocking on the Cheney doors that says the Cheney Dynasty, and behind him is the McCain Dynasty, the Clinton Dynasty, and the Bush Dynasty with blood trailing out of it. It's a good meme. I got a laugh out of it. So, the last time we checked the Trump tracker, Trump was sitting at a 93% endorsement win. And I don't got a thing pulled up this time. I kind of ran out of time. I'm recording this super late. I had to do a re-record because it didn't come out very well. So, Ballotopia has added to their endorsement tracker list as well. It was comprised of gubernatorial, Senate, and House. And they have added state executives, state legislators, and local races. So with all those added in, Trump's win-to-loss ratio dropped from 93% to 92%. Whatever. 183 wins out of 17 losses keeps him at a 92%. Now, I'll just say this. Trump is still the king of the GOP. Yeah, he is. And I'm sorry if people are mad about that. I know people who would rather not Trump run, but it's inevitable, man. It's inevitable. And unless he does get indicted, because there's always that. I don't know. I don't know the trickery that the Democrats are going to be bringing up here soon. Who knows? But he's probably going to win the primary, and hopefully he wins the presidency. I'm not going to say he's going to because of the last presidential run. You know, who knows? Who knows? Maybe the Democrats might band together and come out and, you know, pull another W. You know, maybe hit some Dominion machines. Anyways, let's end this segment out, huh? The question on everyone's mind is, will Liz Cheney run for president? No, and from her concession speech she just made, it sounded that way, right? Liz Cheney said Abraham Lincoln was defeated in elections for the Senate and the House before he won the most important election of all. No, and I would love to see it. Please run, Cheney. It would be so entertaining to see Trump roast Cheney. No, and I can already see it. Trump just saying, your dad was a war criminal. Wyoming spoke, Cheney. You're fired. Now, I need to work on my Trump impression, but whatever. This ends the segment.
Liz, you're fired. Bye-bye. Okay?
All right, guys, and this also ends the show. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the show, please hit the like button and definitely subscribe. If you do subscribe, make sure to ring the bell. I upload episodes weekly, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Audio listeners, you can subscribe too. Thank you for listening. But hey, you know you'll want to watch the videos we played. You can watch the Deplorable Talk Show on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. You can listen to the Deplorable Talk Show on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Stitcher. You can find links in the description, or you can head to the deplorableent.com. That is the general hub for all things deplorable. Take care, guys. See you next episode.